Imagine a behavior. It has absolutely zero survival benefit. It actively helps spread disease, and yet it's been passed down for nearly 20 million years. Why do we still do it?
It's a true evolutionary paradox. When you look at it with, a cold biological lens, it makes almost no sense.
We're talking about kissing. Just the simple act of putting your lips on someone else's.
Exactly. Dr. Matilda Brindle, who led the research we're getting into, she really put her finger on it. If the whole point is to survive and reproduce, why would we inherit a habit that's so well-decist, so risky?
You're swapping microbes, potentially deadly ones.
And for what?
Yeah.
You're not getting better at finding food. You're not outrunning a predator. It seems, on the surface, completely unnecessary.
And that is the mystery we are cracking wide open today. This deep dive is a detective story, but we're not digging through Roman ruins.
Not at all.
We are tracing the kiss back to its origins in ancient biology. We want to find out when, and more importantly, why, our ancestors first started doing this.
To do that, we're looking at some really powerful new findings. They come from researchers at Oxford University and the Florida Institute of Technology.
And they didn't just guess.
No, not at all. They use these advanced evolutionary models, computer simulations, to push the origin of this primal smooch way, way back. The findings were published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior, and they really challenge a lot of old assumptions.
Okay, so let's unpack that core problem. Because I know what you're thinking. Animals do risky things all the time, right? Like fighting for a mate. Why is kissing this ultimate paradox?
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But with something like fighting, there's a very clear, direct reward.
You win, you get to reproduce.
Exactly. The risk is immediate, but so is the potential payoff. Kissing is different. The reward is, what? Social bonding. Mate assessment. It's much more abstract.
While the risk, the pathogen exchange, is very, very real.
Right. And it's the sheer persistence of the behavior across millions of years, despite that cost, that really makes it a paradox for these scientists.
So how on earth do you even start to date something like that? I mean, you can't find a 20-million-year-old fossil of two primates locked in an embrace.
You can't. So you start with what you can see.
Yeah.
Today, in modern primates.
Okay.
And what they found was that humans, chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, gorillas, they all do it. They all engage in this kind of mouth-to-mouth contact.
And that's a huge clue, isn't it? If all those species kiss, what does that imply?
It strongly, strongly suggests it wasn't something each species came up with on its own.
It had to be inherited.
Yes, from a single shared ancestor. It means the behavior is baked deep into our primate family tree. It's an ancient trait.
Now, before we get to the timeline, we have to talk logistics. I mean, to study this scientifically, you need a definition that works for everyone, from a person to a gorilla. You can't just call it love.
Exactly. And the researchers, they were very careful about this. They used a very unromantic, very biological definition.
What was it?
A kiss was defined as, and I'm quoting here, non-aggressive, mouth-to-mouth contact that did not involve food transfer.
Okay, non-aggressive and no food transfer. Why were those parts so important?
Because without them, you could be describing a fight or a mother bird feeding its chick.
Right.
If a mother primate is just passing chewed-up food to her baby, that's feeding. If two apes are biting each other, that's conflict. This definition isolates the act of gentle, deliberate mouth contact.
So it could be a romantic kiss between two people, or say a platonic peck between two chimps making up after a fight.
Precisely. They're both covered under that one scientific umbrella.
So with the definition set, how did they gather the data? I heard they used some pretty modern sources.
Oh yeah, this is where it gets really cool. They mapped out the entire great ape family tree, of course. Then they collected all the data they could find on kissing behavior.
From scientific papers and field notes, I assume?
Yes, but not just that. They supplemented it by analyzing video footage, including, believe it or not, videos from platforms like YouTube.
That's amazing to think a random tourist video could help date a 20-million-year-old behavior.
It just shows how thorough they were. They needed real-world examples to feed into their computer models, and those models are the real magic here.
So what did they do?
They ran these massive simulations, millions and millions of times, using a method called maximum likelihood estimation.
So the computer looks at the whole family tree, sees who kisses and who doesn't, and then works backward.
That's the basic idea. It uses probability to find the single most likely point in time when that common ancestor must have started the behavior and then passed it down.
And the result? When was our first kiss?
The models point to a window of time between 21.5 million and 16.9 million years ago.
Wow. Let's just call it 20 million years ago.
Around 20 million, yeah. And to put that in perspective for you, modern humans, Homo sapiens,
Right.
we've only been around for maybe 300,000 years.
So the act of kissing is something like 100 times older than our entire species.
It's an incredibly ancient trait. It was there in the great ape lineage long before we were even a concept.
Which confirms this isn't some cute little thing we invented after we started writing poetry.
No, this is deep. This is biological. Passed down from an ancestor that lived in the Miocene epoch. It really changes how you think about intimacy.
Okay, so let's push this forward. Our deep primate ancestors were kissing 20 million years ago. What about our more immediate family? Because this is where the research took a really interesting plot twist with the Neanderthals.
Right. This might be the most romantic part of the whole study. They ran their probability model on our closest extinct relatives, and they calculated an 84% chance that Neanderthals also engaged in kissing.
84%. That's not a guess. That's a very high probability.
It's incredibly high. It's strong enough to assume, yeah, they were probably locking lips.
But is there any hard evidence for that beyond the computer model?
There is. It comes down to microbes and interbreeding.
We know humans and Neanderthals interbred. Most of us carry some Neanderthal DNA.
Right. But it goes deeper. A different study found evidence that the two species actually shared an oral microbe. It's called Methanobrevibacter oralis.
An oral microbe. Explain what that means for us. Why is that the smoking gun?
Because it proves they were swapping saliva. A lot of it, and over a long time. This isn't a bug you pick up from just being near someone.
So it suggests repeated, intimate, mouth-to-mouth contact.
Exactly. And this happened long after the two species split from their common ancestor. So it wasn't inherited. It had to be transferred.
So they weren't just swapping genes, they were swapping spit. And as the researchers themselves said, this puts
It puts a much more romantic spin on human-Neanderthal relations.
It really does. It humanizes them. It makes that 84% probability feel very real. Our ancestors and Neanderthals were likely attracted to each other and expressing it.
Using the same 20-million-year-old behavior.
Incredible. Okay, so we had the when, but the biggest question is still the why. Why did this risky behavior stick around for so long? What was its function?
And this is where that debate between biology and culture really heats up. The researchers basically have two main hypotheses, one for sexual kissing and one for platonic.
Let's do hypothesis one, the sexual kiss. What's the biological purpose there?
It's all about reproduction and assessment. One idea is that it's a way to, well, to check out a potential mate.
How so?
Your saliva, your breath.
Yeah.
They can carry all these subtle clues about your immune system, your health, your hormones. It could be a kind of subconscious biological screening.
I see. And the other part of that hypothesis?
It's simpler. This is a very effective form of foreplay. It increases arousal, which in turn boosts the chances of successful fertilization.
Okay, so quality control and boosting success. Makes sense. What about hypothesis two, the platonic pecks we see in chimps?
That's all about social bonding. The theory is that it evolved from grooming.
Grooming is huge for primates, right? It builds trust, calms everyone down.
It's essential. Kissing might just be a faster, more direct way of doing the same thing, reinforcing bonds, reducing stress. The research points out that chimpanzees literally use it to kiss and make up after a fight. It restores peace.
So it helps us reproduce, and it helps us keep the peace. This sounds like a slam dunk case for it being a biological imperative. It should be everywhere.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If it's so critical for choosing a mate or keeping your tribe together, it should be universal in humans.
But it isn't.
And that is the massive counter-argument that complicates everything.
This comes from the anthropologist William Jankowiak, right?
Yes. And he asks the killer question. If kissing is so biologically essential, why did it just disappear in so many human societies?
If our DNA is telling us to do it, it shouldn't be optional.
It shouldn't be, but it is. And the statistic he found is just. It's the hammer blow to that argument.
What's the number?
His study looked at 168 different cultures around the world, and it found that romantic sexual kissing is only present in 46% of them.
Less than half?
Less than half of human societies engage in the behavior we just traced back 20 million years.
That is just a stunning contradiction. If it's so ancient and useful, why would more than half of us just stop?
And this is where culture takes over. In many of those cultures that avoid it, it's often linked to, hygiene, a fear of spreading disease.
The very risk that made it a paradox in the first place.
Exactly. Or they just have other ways of showing intimacy, The fact that it can be so easily replaced by a cultural rule suggests that while the impulse might be biological, the act itself is very optional.
But just to be clear, where it does exist, it has existed for a long time. We have ancient records of it.
Oh, absolutely. The
Wow.
oldest written record we have comes from a clay tablet in Mesopotamia. It's about 4,000 years old.
And the quote on it is so human. It perfectly captures that emotional layer we've added to this ancient act.
It really does. It says, "My upper lip becomes moist while my lower lip trembles. I shall embrace him, I shall kiss him."
Wow. 4,000 years ago.
The quote is 4,000 years old. The behavior is 20 million years old. That gap,
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole story. The act is ancient, but the meaning we give it, the trembling, the romance, that's a much more recent cultural invention.
So let's tie this all together. We have this 20 million-year-old biological trait that we share with chimps and probably Neanderthals. But it's also completely absent in over half of human cultures. What does that mean for us?
It means this study is really the first big step in trying to resolve that tension. Is kissing a deep biological behavior we can't help? Or is it just a cultural fad? And the answer seems to be, well, it's both.
The impulse is baked in, but the performance is optional.
Perfectly put. The impulse seems to be hardwired into our primate brain. But whether we act on it, especially in a romantic context, seems to be incredibly vulnerable to what our culture tells us is okay.
And that's the final thought we want to leave you with. This act is 20 million years old, a deep echo from our primate past. But the meaning of the kiss, that changes completely depending on how you look at it. Is it a primal biological need, or is it a fragile cultural habit that could just fade away?
It really makes you wonder, if your society told you not to kiss, would your 20-million-year-old instincts be strong enough to fight back?
But we want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below.
If you enjoyed uncovering this mystery, please smash that like button and subscribe to Deep Dive Chronicles for more expeditions into the unknown. See you in the next Deep Dive.